Good evening and welcome to October's MAP webinar. And now let's welcome our own Rotary International Director for Zones 33 and 34, Patrick Eakes.
Welcome to tonight's Membership Action Plan webinar. I'm sorry that I can't be with you live. I'm currently in a Rotary International Board of Directors meeting, but I didn't want to miss this chance to share how excited I am about this month's topic. I'll be watching the recording just as soon as I can. Over the past few years, one thing has clearly stood out as the single most effective membership attraction tool we've seen, Discover Rotary, or as some call it, Rotary Information Hours. Seriously, folks, the results speak for themselves. The conversion rate of prospective members who attend a well-planned, well-executed Discover Rotary event is nothing short of amazing. Tonight's presenters will walk you through exactly what makes Discover Rotary so powerful, from event planning and promotion to delivery and follow-up. You'll come away with practical insights and proven strategies to help your clubs grow. Later in the program, you'll hear from immediate past District Governor Kevin Kendrick from District 7680 and from Zone 34 Public Image Coordinator Susan Corder. But first, it's my pleasure to introduce Sandy Olson from District 7770. Sandy is one of the true innovators behind this concept and has shared it across the Rotary world, helping countless clubs expand their reach and impact. Please join me in welcoming my dear friend, Sandy Olson.
Thank you, Director Patrick. And what an honor it is to once again be part of a MAP webinar on Discover Rotary. You know, we first heard about Rotary Information Hours from Zone 33 leaders like Chris Jones and Perry Weaver. And I think that was as early as 2018 or even earlier. And I'll tell you what, folks, I will never forget that spring training assembly where Chris did a presentation on Rotary Information Hour. And I was so impressed that I stepped out of the session and went over to the one where our president-elect was, pulled her out of that, and brought her into Chris's session, telling her, you got to hear this, we got to do this. And so with a few adjustments, some improvements to make it more attractive and easier to do, it evolved to Discover Rotary. And by 2019, it had taken off like wildfire. And today, 7 years later, I am still privileged to be part of a team that is taking Discover Rotary from one end of Zone 33 to the other, and as far away as District 6460 in Peoria, Illinois, and out to District 5790 in Arlington, Texas. Friends, Discover Rotary still works. It's still in demand, and I hope we can take it all across North America. You know, put simply, Discover Rotary is a meeting. It's where we gather prospective members together and tell the powerful story of how we take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. And during that meeting, we show a PowerPoint presentation where we tell exactly who we are, what we do, and how we improve lives around the world. It brings the 4 priorities of the Rotary Action Plan to life. And when well executed, Discover Rotary is intentionally kept small, low cost, easy to do, easy to plan, so that clubs will be encouraged to do several throughout the year. And when they do that, that means boosting attraction and managing attrition. But more than anything else, Discover Rotary is a golden opportunity to go one-on-one with prospective members and find out exactly what they're looking for in their Rotary experience and start delivering it right then. You know, one of the biggest reasons that people leave clubs is unmet expectations. And so when we start meeting those expectations, starting with Discover Rotary, we can fix that. Now, I often get a question, how do we get our club members behind Discover Rotary to support it and make it a success? We do that by selling the benefits. Discover Rotary can help prospective members make a more informed decision before they join the club. It helps us evaluate prospective members to make sure that they have a heart for Rotary service. And when we have more members, we have more hands to do the work, and that helps us create a larger footprint in our community. It's a great public image tool because even if a prospective member doesn't join your club, they will go tell others about what a great club you have and all the good things you're doing in the community. Discover Rotary sets a tone for a warm and inclusive culture so that when a prospective member attends a club meeting, they will experience that warm culture. And that makes them feel already like a member of the Rotary family. And here's a surprise benefit. If you do Discover Rotary at least once a year for all of your club members, then that will help refresh their knowledge of Rotary. And it will also remind them of why they joined and what they value in their membership. And you know what? That will encourage them to invite a colleague, a friend, or a family member to your next Discover Rotary. People still ask me, Sandy, does this work? Does this really work? The answer is yes. Here's some examples. Here's some success stories. Attrition had taken its toll on my own club, Forest Acres, in District 7770. But over a 5-year period doing Discover Rotary, we started growing moderately and consistently, and eventually we went from 33 to 55 members. Same thing happened in our Columbia East Club with its Discover Rotary. They went from 37 to 63 members. And just last year, our Bluffton Club started a satellite. And using Discover Rotary meetings, that satellite has grown already to 28 members. We've learned a few things about doing Discover Rotary. We encourage clubs to stick to the tried and true and the recipe for success. We've learned that when clubs stray away from that, do their own version, they don't often get the results that they're looking for. And we also encourage that Discover Rotary should not be a standalone effort. It should be part of a set of intentional growth strategies that include a membership team, not a single individual membership chair, a written membership growth plan, and an agreed upon growth group. So if you want to unlock the magic of Rotary, start doing Discover Rotary, because you will watch prospective members go from wanting to be just interested in Discover Rotary to wanting to be part of Rotary, wanting to be part of something bigger than themselves, and part of an organization that creates lasting change around the world. So let's hand it over to Kevin Kendrick to tell us about how to hold a successful Discover Rotary meeting.
Sandy, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So I'm going to talk to you all tonight a little bit about what some of the key factors to consider. What are some of the key factors to consider when your club is discussing having a Discover Rotary event? So the very first thing you need to do is identify your assets. And by that, I mean your accomplishments. You want an honest assessment of what your club is going to say to invitees about what you've done and what your club can offer. That may mean talking to some of your more senior club members or looking through archives or old newsletters or whatever to find some of those nuggets. And don't rule out talking to alumni. That's also an opportunity for you to re-engage with those folks. Now, who do you invite? What does your club need? Some clubs have looked at the classification system to determine gaps. One thing you may want to do, however, and I would challenge you to do this, as a club, look around your community and say, who is it that should be in Rotary but is not yet a member? And I would encourage you to concentrate on inviting those folks. Then you want to look at some of the logistics. Where should you have it? At your regular meeting place, at a residence, maybe a restaurant? Those are all okay. There's pros and cons associated with each of those, but ultimately you're going to have to decide what works best for you. Just remember, if your current meeting space is constrained by size, consider other venues. Factor in things like parking, and will your space be as distraction free as possible? You want a space where interruptions are going to be limited, if any. Wherever you have it, make sure you have adequate space, not only for those who are going to be speaking, but for those who are going to be listening. It's really important that they receive that message. Also, one final point to make in this regard is make sure your AV is working. There's literally nothing worse than having technology snafus when you're trying to showcase just how amazing your club is. Now, what about the time of day to have? Well, that's going to depend on who you're trying to attract. You want it to be convenient for those whom you've invited. So it may mean having to pivot to a different time. I happen to be in a club that has we meet on Fridays at 11:30. So we always have the Discover Rotary events before our meeting. We have it at 10:30. We invite them to lunch, and then we have a hands-on service project so that they can see we're serious about giving back to the community. Now, what should you include in that presentation? Well, it's very important that you have someone with good presentation skills. It doesn't have to be the president, but it should be someone who can speak about the club's history and service projects in the community. You want to talk a little bit too in that presentation about Rotary's history, emphasizing our areas of focus and how essentially in those 7 areas of focus, there's going to be something that will appeal to virtually everyone. We also want to talk about our ethos. We want to talk about that motto, service above self, and our 4-way test. You may also want to talk about Rotary's commitment to issues such as the eradication of polio and how we are committed to that and how we don't like to break promises to children. You do have to be careful about inundating them with too much information, however, because as we all know, Rotary is many layered. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your club identity. And this is where that asset inventory is going to plug in. Uh, what service projects have you engaged in? What impact have you had in your local community? In my club, for instance, the Charlotte Dilworth South End Club, we are actually celebrating our 77th birthday today, by the way. But one of the things we like to point to is the fact that a few decades ago, we built a little league baseball park in our community, and that's still being used. That's something that resonates with people. We like to also point to current events, such as our support of a local middle school where we provide tutoring and also period products for girls. If your club doesn't have an extensive or noteworthy history, talk about some of the issues your club wants to address and intends to address in the community. At the end of the day, you want to be able to say that your club is working to address certain needs of your community and demonstrate why joining Rotary is an extremely good value proposition for them. You want to talk about the benefits of being a Rotarian also, the networking, the leadership opportunities, friendships and fellowship, the service opportunities that you have, and stress to them that we want their ideas as well. It may also be a good opportunity to stress that Rotary is secular and apolitical, and this is truly a safe space to engage with others. So, what's the best format for holding your Discover Rotary events? Many clubs use what we call the 20-20-20 rule. That's 20 minutes for fellowship before the meeting, 20 minutes for the presentation itself, and then 20 minutes for question and answers. I have one club in my district. It's a wonderful club, the Taylorsville Club, that uses a panel for Q&A at the end. They have participants from a previous Discover Rotary event, both new and old members who answer questions. That also keys up the attending members for questions of their own. So let's recap here. You want to identify your club assets, first of all, what you're going to talk about, determine who you're going to invite, where you're going to have it, what's the best time for it, who's going to present it, and what to include, especially your club identity. That's what's going to get people really interested in joining Rotary. And then finally, you want to discuss the format, keeping in mind that that 2020 format is a very popular one. Remember, this presentation is your key to a successful Discover Rotary event. In all likelihood, you're going to have one chance to make a favorable impression on this group of prospective candidates. This is your opportunity to talk about your club and share stories of the difference you've made in the community. People of action, that's what we are. So this is your big chance to make a compelling reason for joining. Be proud, be excited, be passionate about sharing this gift of Rotary. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Susan Corder. Susan.
Thanks, Kevin. So you heard a lot of really great content, kind of the what behind Discover Rotary needs to include. I'm going to talk to you about storytelling, which is really the why behind the message that's going to resonate with those prospective members that you're speaking to when you host these events. Before I get started with that, though, I want to ask a question of you, and I want you to throw up some reactions in response. How many of you first joined Rotary because someone handed you a membership brochure? And if anyone throws up a thumbs up, I'd like to see that brochure because that's a great public image tool. Let me ask you another question. How many of you joined Rotary by show of claps or waves or thumbs up because someone told you a story that resonated with you and made you want to join and learn more? It could be a one-on-one conversation, a story you saw on social media, or a press release that you read that talked about all the great work that Rotary does. I see a lot more reactions there. And it's that storytelling that's really going to make these events so successful and impactful. We join Rotary because of those projects, those experiences, those opportunities to serve. And don't forget about the friendships too. Those are all great opportunities to use as examples of stories. So I'm going to talk for the next few minutes about how storytelling can be a powerful tool for growing membership and offer you a few tips on how to enhance your storytelling so that you can get that maximum impact. So let's start with why storytelling matters. Our world is flooded with statistics and data. We have so much information coming at us, but the truth is facts tell, but stories sell. Talking about the 10,000 hours that your club logged last year with your literacy program by reading to students and mentoring and delivering books is really great data. It's a really great statistic. But capturing that one child that you read to who came up to you after 3 months of repetitive reading and bringing home a book, he came up to you and said, I read to my siblings every night from these books in my personal library. Telling the story of that child is really going to resonate a lot more than pushing out data and statistics, which is important. It's good to have that information, but really capturing the essence behind what Rotary's done and why these projects are so important is what makes a great story. So stories should connect emotionally. Why does Rotary matter? You should portray the feeling about what makes Rotary matter in the story. Stories should stick in the memory. People forget numbers, but they don't forget the stories. They don't forget the how it made them feel. And your story should also inspire action. People that you're speaking to at these events, the prospective members, are much more likely to say yes to joining Rotary, yes to participating in a project, yes to giving if the story resonates and it inspires action amongst them. So make sure as you're building your story and thinking about what message you're going to portray at your Discover Rotary events when you're telling your stories, that you try to incorporate these aspects of your story. Let's talk about the components of a compelling story. So we're going to get a little bit technical for the next minute or two and talk about the various elements of a really good story. The first one is a person. You should identify a person or a small group of people that were impacted by the story that you're telling. You should identify a challenge. What's the problem that you solved? Was it to bring clean water to a community? Was it to provide literacy and education to children? Was it mentoring? What was the challenge? What is the problem that you solved? And then the change. What happened because Rotary got involved? How did Rotary make a difference in that child's life and that family's life? What was the impact that Rotary made? It's simple, right? One person, one challenge, and one change to make up your great story. In addition to these Discover Rotary events and having powerful stories behind them, wouldn't it be great if you just had 2 or 3 stories in your back pocket? So if someone asks, what's Rotary? You have the ammo, the ammunition, the dialogue prepared to say, here's a few stories. Let me tell you about what Rotary is. It's not 1.2 million people around the world that believe in service above self. It's about these specific individuals that Rotary made an impact on. And lastly, I want to talk about delivering your story, how to effectively share your Rotary story. And I will just put a reminder in here, being on the public image team, utilize your club and district public image resources in the team because they are really helpful at helping you craft your Rotary story. But remember, as you're learning how to effectively share your story, that stories are not just told with words. They're shared with body language and pauses and tones. So remember that as part of your delivery. I always like to practice my speeches and my storytelling before I go live, before I'm on stage, just to make sure I'm comfortable with it. And I recommend that you try that too, especially if it's an emotional story. You don't want to break out sobbing in the middle of a presentation or in the middle of your story. It's okay to show emotion, and you really should show emotion. A tear is okay, but you want to make sure that you can maintain that composure and get through your story, and practicing helps with that. And then consider using visuals. If you have a presentation and you're sharing your story and you have the opportunity to drop up a few pictures of you reading to those students, or you helping participate in building that house or whatever the project is that you're talking about. If it's about friendships you developed in Rotary, show the great events that you've gone to where you're hugging your friends and having a great meal and socializing and participating in fellowship. Have some supporting photos. If you don't have those photos, though, just use your words to paint a visual in the minds of those who are listening to you for maximum impact of your story. And at the end, it's always great to have a call to action for your story, whether it's at your Discover Rotary events or a story you're sharing online or a press release. Always remember to have a call to action. In this instance, it would be, why don't you come and join our club? So in closing, every Rotarian has a story. Some of us who have been in Rotary a while have many. Some of us who are new might just have a story about why they joined. But every Rotarian has a story. It's not a list of projects. It's about that family that you connected with and helped. So facts and figures show what we do, but stories are why it matters. Thank you for listening. And now I'd like to turn it over to Rotary Membership Coordinator, Chris Justice.
Great. Thanks so much, Susan. All our presenters, thank you so much. That was awesome material. We've been talking about the best known, highest return on investment strategy for attracting new members to your club. We have some awesome takeaways. And in looking at the numbers, almost half of our clubs have not attracted a single member for the first quarter of this year. And Discover Rotary is a way to change that. And looking at the key takeaways, we see it is the #1 attraction tool for clubs. There is extensive support across the districts and zones to help all of our clubs put on effective Discover Rotary events. It is a central strategy for attracting new members. And we have seasoned presenters that can help. Those are all great takeaways, and I hope you guys got that message. All right, if you're not 100% sure of just how many new members your club needs this year, or how you're doing on attracting those, we have a short Membership Success Center tidbit of the month from past Zone 33 Rotary Membership Coordinator Terry Weaver. And after Terry, our Regional Membership Officer, Jose, will have our panel on for some follow-up questions. So if you guys have questions, drop those into the Q&A for our presenters. All right, so here's Terry on how to use the progress dashboard in the Success Center to get on track with the pace of new member attraction that your club needs.
You've probably heard plenty of encouragement about using Rotary information events to attract new members to your club. But you might be wondering, does my club really need that many new members? The short answer is probably yes. A better question might be, exactly how many new members does my club need to meet our membership goal this year? That's where the progress dashboard in the Membership Success Center comes in. Let's take a look. When you open the progress dashboard, it immediately displays your own club's data. Everything you need to know is right across the top of the page. The first thing you'll notice is the number of new members your club has attracted so far this year. Hopefully that number is higher than 0 or higher than just 1, and that information is updated on the first of each month, plenty often to give you time to make adjustments in your membership strategies. Next, you'll see the number of new members needed to reach your club's goal. How's that calculated? Well, in this example, the club has set a membership goal of 50 members. That's a net gain of 4 members from their start of 46. The dashboard also factors in anticipated member losses based on the club's average annual terminations over the past few years, which turns out a surprisingly accurate prediction. So to grow by 4 and replace those 6 members that are likely to leave, this club will need 10 new members in total this year. Across the top, you'll see how those numbers are tracking. The club has already attracted 5 members, halfway to their goal. They need an additional 5 new members to reach their goal. That is, unless their actual attrition turns out to be higher than this 6-member average that our forecast is based on. Scrolling down, you'll find a graph showing the pace of new member attraction over the course of the year, from July 1st and aiming to reach 10 members by the next June 1st. The blue bars represent the club's actual progress. Now, this club did what successful clubs do. They got an early start. They added members in July, August, and September. 5 so far through October 1st, which puts them about 2 members ahead of pace to reach their goal by June. The final metric I want to highlight is the year-end forecasted net gain loss. Based on their current pace, 5 new members in the first 3 months, and assuming the expected 6 losses, the forecast predicts they'll finish the year with a net gain of 12 members, not just 4. And that's the power of momentum. By maintaining their current pace, about 5 new members per quarter, they're on track to substantially exceed their goal. Now, the forecast updates each month, adjusting for both new member attraction and actual attrition compared to their historical average. So how is your club doing? It's easy to find out. Just log into the Membership Success Center through either DACTV or Club Runner, then open the Progress Dashboard. There, you'll see your current pace towards your goal, how many new members you've attracted so far, and a forecast of where you're likely to finish the year. And if you don't like what you see in that forecast, well, that's your clue to pick up the pace and start attracting more great members to your Rotary Club. Thanks for watching.
Well, thank you, Sandy, Kevin, Susan, and Chris for the overview on all things Discover Rotary. And thank you, Terry, for the Membership Success Center tidbit of the month. Now it's time to hear from our audience. What questions do you all have for our presenters? As a reminder, we will be using the Q&A function, so questions posted in the chat may be missed. With that, let's jump right into our Q&A, and I'm seeing that people are being spotlighted, so we're going to start with Miss Sandy. Sandy, you have the most experience on Discover Rotary than any one of us, and great presentation, by the way. Based on your experience, what are some of the pitfalls to watch out and for members and club members to avoid?
What I've noticed over the years is sometimes clubs, instead of sticking to the tried and the true recipe for success, will kind of veer off and kind of do their own version of Discover Rotary. And frankly, if they have success with it, all the more power to them. But what we've learned is that most times when they do that, they don't get the results that they're looking for. So we really encourage clubs to stick with the recipe for success. It works. It works. We got the results.
It's a little like baking, right? There's a recipe for a reason to ensure
Right.
that we're successful in the end.
That's
Thank you,
right.
Miss.
That's right. If you try to bake a cake and you leave out the flour or you leave out the sugar, you're not going to get the results you're looking for
Oh, you're not
sure.
going to get a cake. I'll tell you that.
That's right.
Thank you, Sandy. Kevin, what if we don't have the right members to lead a Discover Rotary event? Does our district or our zone have people resources to support our clubs in hosting successful Discover Rotary events?
Great question, Jose. I am very fortunate in my district because we do have lots of resources for Discover Rotary, but I understand that not all districts have that. So I would encourage clubs to look to their zone Rotary coordinators for Discover Rotary resources. They should have them.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing, Kevin. And by the way, great presentation for you as well. Honestly, everyone had a great presentation. Susan, the next one's up for you. People are interested to learn more about the art of storytelling and how the zone level public image team can assist their clubs. Where can people go to find this type of information?
The zone team, public image team has a lot of great resources on our website. I'll drop a link to the toolbox in the chat here. One of those resources is recorded virtual events. And in August, we actually had a virtual event on storytelling, and it really went in depth on how to craft and deliver effective stories for clubs. The other resource I'll say is just, keep your eyes and ears open and look around and see what other clubs are doing. If you don't yet have those stories within your club, you can always invite other clubs in to help showcase their stories or brainstorm ideas off of them. So, there's a lot of tools and resources on our website, but also looking around and getting experience, Rotarians who have shared their stories in the past and learning from them is a great resource as well. And our public image team is always here to help you, as I mentioned when I spoke, just craft and really refine your storytelling abilities. Thanks, Jose.
Fantastic. Miss Susan, thank you very much for sharing that toolkit and for all the general information. People are going to utilize this, I hope, and put into practice a wonderful Discover Rotary. Now, Kevin, I'm going to jump back to you real quick because I have a question here in reference to some best practices. And you already told us a couple of them, so I'm hoping you can help me here. Someone's asking, can you please offer some best practices for identifying prospective members by name that you would invite to attend a potential Discover Rotary event? How do you identify who you should invite?
And that is a great question, and a challenge, frankly. It really does require the entire club to get involved in this. Some clubs go around the room and they say, hey, name 3 people that you want to invite to bring to a Discover Rotary event, and that's good. But I really think clubs need to look at what it is they want to accomplish as a club and then who they might need from the community to make that happen. If they want to engage in a particular project and they see that they need someone from the city council or something like that, that informs them that, hey, this is somebody that we need to get in our club. So look at what your club is doing or can't do or wants to do, and then identify the people who can help you achieve that.
What a great strategy, Kevin, right? These individuals we identify more often than not can help us solve for that problem that we're working towards or
That's
want
right.
to work towards.
That's exactly right.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Miss Sandy, this one's in reference to how we actually market and promote these Discover Rotary events. Being that you have the most experience with Discover Rotary, I'm wondering if you can help us here. What's the best way to promote a Discover Rotary event?
Well, the easy and quick answer is through your club members, of course. You want your club members out there talking about Discover Rotary, but there are so many other ways. Social media is a great way to promote. Make your district aware. I- I've worked with the local Chamber of Commerce, and they have often sent people to us as well. The truth is people want to be in Rotary. We just need to let them know. We just need to invite them. And so get the word out there.
Fantastic. Chris, you were one of the earliest adopters of Discover Rotary. Can you tell us a little bit about why you actually chose to follow along and say, you know what, let's promote this, let's push this? What really caught your attention to say this is something of value?
Jose, great question. I actually wasn't a quick convert. The first time that I saw it presented, I think there were some technical glitches. And I was kind of dismissive of it until I started seeing some of these events being held. And I kind of jokingly call Sandy the Pied Piper of Discover Rotary, and it's so true. I saw a couple of these done really well, and I saw the results. I mean, oh my gosh, like the conversion rate is ridiculous. I mean, we kind of try to fight for bragging rights here. I've done a bunch of these at this point, and I like to say I'm undefeated. Now that's probably not true, but the conversion rate is really, really high. Across Discover Rotary, we're seeing 80, 90% of attendees join. After coming to one of these, that's effectively done. So that's why I became a believer in it, and that's why it is the number one attraction strategy in my mind, and something that we support and push.
Well, thank you very much, Chris, for the clarification and for continuing to support it because, like you mentioned, it's a great converter of getting people to join. Phenomenal. And actually, I'm going to stick with you for a moment, Chris, because someone has a question about accessing the progress dashboard. So I'm hoping you can help us. What's the best way to access the progress dashboard that Terry just recently showed us?
Yeah, I saw Jerry's question, and it is Jerry. In short, the easiest way to access it is through DACDB. You may or may not see the icon. What I would encourage you to do is first check with your district membership team if you're having trouble accessing it. Okay, and if you're still having trouble, we are more than happy to help you at the zone level. You can drop me an email or call me anytime, and I'll walk you through it right then. It's probably a little too in depth if you don't see the necessary icon to get into right this second. But if if you see that icon from your district page on DACDB, great. If you don't see it, I can show you how to activate it pretty quickly.
Thank you for that, Chris. Now we only have time for one more question. So, Miss Sandy, I'm going to start with you, and Kevin, if you have an opportunity to jump in and add to it, please do so. This is a pretty long one. This is an individual that's going to be doing a multi-club Discover Rotary program where they're going to go to their major metropolitan cities, and they're wondering what additional tools outside of and resources do they have to ensure they can be successful. They're already going to personalized to the local Rotary impact for those specific cities and areas so that the material is specific to those cities that they want to solve challenges in. But what other successful tools do you think they're needed to assure that they're going to be successful hosting multiple multi-club Discover Rotary events? Sandy, what do you think?
Well, I would recommend, since it's a multi-club, multi-area, to make sure that you have material on hand as far as tools are concerned, material that will help explain what Discover Rotary is so that they have something in hand that they can take with them. And that could be local club Rotary Club brochures. That could be flyers for events that clubs have done. That could be, I often at Discover Rotary meetings, I will give copies of Rotary magazines. So, have those on hand because that's a great way for people to get a better understanding. So just anything that people can and take with them and study and think about.
Wonderful. Kevin, Susan, Chris, anybody have anything they want to add to that one?
I'll just throw out that I think these things have to be fun as well. So you gotta have a nice assortment of food and refreshment beverages. You gotta make it fun for people. They gotta leave there thinking, hey, Rotary's got its act together. So you want to make it fun. You want to make it informative too. And sometimes we don't do a very good job of telling our own stories. Susan's points about storytelling are just spot on. And I don't want to speak for her, but sometimes if we let the people who have benefited from our projects tell that story as opposed to us telling the story, it just resonates so much more with the people who are hearing it.
And
Chris, you're unmuted, sir. What do you got?
Yeah, I'll just add, I would be pretty intentional about, if you're getting multi-clubs, to make sure that you have diverse meeting times, for example, meeting days and meeting times. I'm probably going to want to avoid direct conflicts, with the clubs that are going to, a particular Discover Rotary. And then I would also be extremely well rehearsed on the club specific portions of it, because I think that, sometimes, you may get a club that kind of dominates the discussion to the disadvantage of some of the other ones. So it's something you got to be super intentional about when you do it. I do applaud this district for supporting it in that way. And I think it will be successful if executed well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sandy, Kevin, Susan, Chris, for sharing your experience, knowledge, and time with all of us today. This does conclude our Q&A segment. And I want to remind everybody that these webinars are designed for you in mind. And our hope is that you take the information discussed today and implement it into your own clubs. Discover Rotary can be a great tool for consistent, moderate growth, but it requires a spark to lead the effort. So I'll ask you, will you be the spark for your club? Thank you all again for attending today's webinar on Unlocking Rotary Magic with hosting events that wow and welcome. Before you all go, stay tuned for this month's messages on upcoming events and programs.
Thank you, Jose. And thank you, our guests, for all that wonderful, enlightening information. We know our webinars are packed with great insights, but we also recognize sometimes best ideas come from an open dialogue. That's why we've got the Map Lounge, a casual, come as you are Zoom space to further the conversation. The Map Lounge isn't another presentation. It's your opportunity to talk, share, and connect. Whether you have a question, a challenge, or an idea sparked by today's webinar, this is your place to bring it. Think of it like Rotary Fellowship meets strategy session. Grab a cup of coffee and join us in the Map Lounge for meaningful, solution-driven discussion with our passionate Rotary leaders. The next one will be Saturday, October the 18th at 10 a.m. Eastern. And you can explore how we can put these ideas into action in our clubs and our districts. Our next MAP webinar is on Monday, November the 10th, and it's Stick the Landing, mastering new member onboarding so your new members last. That MAP webinar, again, is on Monday, November the 10th at 5:30 Eastern Time. And last, we're here to support you every step of the way. So if you got questions, ideas, scan the QR code. We'd love to hear from you. QR codes are magic, so go ahead and scan it. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. We are here for you. Thank you for being with us with this month's MAP webinar. We look forward to seeing you again on the next one on November the 10th. Have a great evening.